Dave.
Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning,
Well,
Sam.
morning over here.
It's good, and it can still be morning here. It's rainy and cloudy and gross, so it kind of looks like morning here. So I'll take it. I'll take
Those are the
it.
days when I feel the most cozy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm freezing. Like I have on my sleeves and everything. I
Oh,
almost
God,
brought a
my giant
blanket.
blanket.
Oh, I wish I had a blanket. I
Gotta-
should have brought my blanket in here. It's so cold here. Like,
Costco blankets are the best thing ever. They're so soft, and they're like $10.
oh, I need one of those. I don't have a Costco though. I'll have to. I know. I don't have much here.
Oh, I found out yesterday that I have family that used to live in Knoxville.
Really?
Then I have other family that was from St. Louis, but is that connected to you? Was that for someone else? I can't remember. That was something else. Because you're not connected to St. Louis, right?
Nope.
But it was Knoxville. I was like, wait, did you just say Knoxville? Anyway, what are we doing this morning, Sarah?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just kind of like getting my feet wet again. And you were kind enough to come and be here with me to hold my hand, which I appreciate so much. I know I did a live with you on Friday, but I didn't do a whole lot of talking. I was just creating. So I don't think that really counts. So
whatever counts or not, I think it was awesome.
It was so much fun. We have got to do that again. I loved it. That was awesome. It was so cool.
What would a Sarah Lovecraft Designs hosted event look like? What if you were to put on a dream event?
Oh my gosh.
That knew no bounds. What would it be?
Oh, wow. It would definitely be like a design on the fly, and it would be with the most random, very difficult things to work with. Like I would pick out the things that I struggle with just to see what other people do with them, because I need that kind of inspiration. But I think it's important to always kind of like step outside of your boundaries to see what's possible. And those design on the fly type scenarios, I've done them in the past, like in intense pressure situations, like in Tucson.
We've heard the story.
Yeah, and I blew it. So I feel like on Friday, I made up for that because I made an entire piece. I liked it. It's still sitting here on my desk. But that kind of pressure, sometimes the most amazing designs come out of that kind of pressure and with the weirdest things. So I'm always interested to see like how people use certain things. So that would be, if I could pick anything to do, it would be like give people just weird things that maybe other people struggle with. So
I thought you were going to give me a really much wilder answer. I don't know what I was expecting, but it involved like a lot more alcohol and like a big, I don't know. I like you do everything much bigger. So I was like, she's about to give me something crazy.
Oh, come on now. Well, I mean, if we're going big or going home, there would definitely be like maybe some tequila and pineapple juice and maybe some cute boys in short shorts and I don't know, maybe shirtless. I don't
know. See, now we have Sarah
going. Delivering beads to us on golden trays and
amazing. Just because that's inspired another idea. I was like, what if we're one day in person and had a group project and like our challenge was something like make the largest necklace we can make as a group, and we made this just like
no.
Uh-oh. Sarah is indeed frozen. This happens sometimes with guests on her lives, but she'll be back in a moment.
I missed the whole first part of what you said.
That's okay. I was envisioning like a group, if we're in person, like a group project where we made like just like the biggest necklace that we could. And like imagine like a 6-foot wide bust. And we like all work together on like the most extravagant, beautiful necklace.
That would be fabulous.
And then it would have to like live in some bead museum.
Yes.
That
would be wonderful.
Or it's just for Hagrid's mom. You can pick.
When it's funny because it reminds me of when I was a kid. So my parents were both very, very creative. And they could draw and paint and write and do all of these wonderful things. And their friends were also that way as well. And so on the weekends, sometimes when I was little, my parents would have their friends over and they would sit at the table and they would have these sketchbooks. And everybody had a sketchbook and they would start sketching something, some sort of picture. And then the timer would go off and they would pass it along to the next person. So as they sat there that night and they visited with each other and, and had drinks and spent time with each other, they were all working collectively on like however many projects there were for the people that were sitting at the table. So by the end of the night, they had the most amazing creations. I actually have saved some of them. They're extraordinary because everybody has such a different style. So with jewelry, I could see how that could be just an amazing thing. Like, because everybody comes at it from such a different place. That would be really cool to see.
That's a really interesting idea just for like a little bead mixer if you're like hanging with your friends. Like, what a great idea. Huh. And then I was imagining that with food with you.
Of course.
Food stations going around, and then Sarah has to figure out what's happening at each station.
There would be snacks involved. Oh my gosh. So guys, we didn't even say hi to you all. You just kind of showed up. So hi to everybody. I am back on my regular schedule. I am now back to getting in the groove. And Sam is here with me today, and we're not making anything, but we're doing a question and answer session. We've actually done one of these before, but it's been a while since we've done it, and we wanted to do it again because when we did it the first time, everybody loved it, but we didn't get a chance to answer all of the questions. So within the Sarah Lovecraft Designs community, there was a post where you could write your questions and we would go through them. And of course, you can submit your questions here as well, here in the chat. And we'll get to as many of them as possible. They can be jewelry related, they can be business related, or they can just be for fun. I will answer just about anything. So.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about like our theme for today. I'd like to propose.
Yeah.
I've been like having a whole lot of like dialogue just kind of with myself lately. That has felt very in line with like what you say of like, give yourself grace and kind of figure out what that means to me right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm going through like my own, like figuring out like just things are shifting and like things are changing and like, and it seems to kind of a general theme I've been noticing around me. And like, you literally just moved houses.
Yeah.
There's like, it's huge. Like, I don't even know like how you want to even processes that. Like, that's huge. I have to move in a couple months potentially. So like,
yeah,
like those like very demanding things. I've just been feeling like it's like an opportunity also like restructure like what is important to you and figure out what those things like how you do want to be spending your time, who you want to be spending like your time with, and like.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. Yes. And moving kind of forces you into that, whether you're prepared for that or not. It's amazing what happens because number one, you're kind of forced to look at not just in your studio, but in your whole entire life, like what's taking up space. And when you get to the new place, where are those things going to fit? Whether it's your bead collection or your findings or the people in your life or the furniture or the stuff. And it really kind of opens your eyes to the fact that there is so much stuff in your life. And for me personally, like I went from a really big house to a much smaller space. And I'm not mad about it. It's forced me to let go of some things symbolically, emotionally, and physically. And that's happened everywhere, not just in my life, but also in my studio. I'm in a much smaller space, right? And so I had a conversation with my team the other day. I said, I'm going to be giving beads away to you guys because now that I've moved everything, I can see what's important, what sparks my creativity, what makes me happy. And there is so much extra in this room and extra in my life that I just need to get rid of. But I don't mean that in a negative way. Like the beads that don't inspire me anymore are not necessarily beads that I think are ugly or unusable. Somebody else is going to give those an amazing home and turn them into a gorgeous piece of jewelry. But for me personally, they just need to be out of my space so that I can have room for the new. And I think that that is not just a symbolic for your studio space and your creativity, but just for life in general. Sometimes we have to do a little spring cleaning everywhere, and moving really kind of forces you to look at yourself and look at your life and look at what's taking up space.
Yeah, because my beads are currently hiding behind me. I brought all my beads home from the office because I wanted access to them at home, which is when I tend to most gravitate towards wanting to make. I've always ebbed and flowed in like my creation. It's like I'll have weeks where it's like all I want to do, and other weeks I'm like focusing on something else and then kind of come back into it.
Yeah.
But I haven't, it's been taking, ever since I brought more stuff home, I've actually had a harder time getting myself going because I haven't spent time just organizing any of these things. And I just spend mental energy finding like, where's that piece? And like, it just like, that drain is like, can be pretty inhibitive for me of kind of getting going again. I'm just like, no, I just want to sit down. Like I have this beautiful strand of peridot that I've been dying to make into a bracelet for myself. And I just haven't like sat down and done that, even though like I know that would bring me so much joy.
Yeah.
And I had a whole thought at the beginning when I started this. I think I was like, oh, and like for me, like right now, it's like finding the balance of like, how do I mix in multiple things that I like care about into my life. Like because I've had like music kind of start to come into my life more and more over the last couple weeks, like a big concert this Saturday. And I also want to like have other things that I really like in my life. Like I love running the business and I really like making jewelry for myself and like, but it's hard to like do a lot of to do everything what you want to do.
Yeah.
So like that's why I come into today with just like a theme of like a little bit more grace, because there will be a time where I can get to everything that I want to, but it just might not be in this exact moment. So that is just the kindness I want to like offer to ourselves as we, regardless of what question we're about to jump into, I thought could be a framework to approach anything we're thinking about right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess I really, I'm kind of in the same place where you are as far as that is concerned, because before I moved, I was work, like all the time, nonstop. And a lot of it was because I love to work. I really do. Like I'm a hustler at heart. I gotta get up and go and do the things. But as I've moved, and I've only been here a little over a week, I've kind of realized that there's something to be said for those moments in between, where maybe you're just sitting on the couch, or if I don't stop working so much, how am I going to have room for people? Because we've joked about the refrigerator shaped gentleman. But the truth is that like, I've got to make room for that in my life. Like I have to find some balance, because if I keep working the way that I'm working, there's not room for refrigerator shaped gentlemen. You know what I mean? And I want that in my life. Like I want to have other things in my life. I want to have time to go and hike. There are amazing trails here. I want to spend time outside. So I kind of have to force myself to get out of this office. As much as I love the new space and everything, like I'm going to have to make room for other things, other people, and maybe give it a rest a little bit. And I think that like Nile is a really good example of that, because he seems to have such a good balance of business and personal life. And I can't seem to find that yet.
Right. I totally agree. And I think there's a lot to be said for like doing those pieces outside of your creative space, of like how those returns come back.
Yeah. Oh,
and the joy that
it can be beneficial to your creativity, right?
Yeah. Anyway, shall we answer questions?
Yes, let's answer some questions.
Thank you for letting me go on my wild tangents. I hope this.
No, I think it's good for everybody. I mean, it's not a wild tangent. I think it really applies to everybody, and your creativity only grows if you give it an opportunity to rest a little bit, So, all right. So we did have lots of questions.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm going to pull them up.
If you
Sam,
guys
did you have any questions that jumped out at you that you wanted
I didn't see the post. Was I tagged? I didn't see the post. Let me pull it up.
For whatever reason, it has your name in it, but it wouldn't let me post you. But I pinned it to the top. It's big and yellow.
Let me pull it up on my giant iPad.
So one question that I see a lot, and I think you're going to be better to answer this question. I see this question a lot of times. How do you determine the difference between like a real gemstone and a fake gem? Do you have any? How do we do that? That?
That's a great question. Okay. So some context, I run, as it says right here, I run Sam's Bead Shop, and one of the specialties of the shop has always been carrying gemstones, natural gemstones, enhanced gemstones, all sorts of things. So the question is, how do you tell?
Yeah.
Number one, there's a little bit of like time involved and like error involved. Just kind of know that you have to kind of you will not know everything from the start, and that's okay.
Right.
I found it really hard to start, especially in the business, selling stones, because you want to feel really good about what you're selling. But if you're like, don't know everything yet, which just tends to be the case, and when we're starting most anything,
right,
you just won't know everything from the start, and that's okay. Like if you're starting your jewelry business, you don't stress about it too much. I'd say do your best.
Yeah.
But I can offer some like more specific ideas. The trickiest categories basically have classically always been kind of around things like turquoise, lapis, some of the more popular stones where they often are a bit more rare.
Right.
And there's more market for counterfeit or just kind of imitation type specimens to be like kind of all over the market.
Right.
So like the best thing I would say is start with finding places that you really can tell that they put a lot of effort into being very upfront about the stones that they're selling.
Right.
If I'm shopping a shop, I can usually tell pretty quick if like certain labels just aren't there. I'm like, that's like a dyed agate, and it doesn't say dyed anywhere on it, or like,
right.
You can take some of the clues from the shop. They kind of they're pretty telling of like what, if they're being very upfront and like their own knowledge, because they might more often than not, they just don't know that they're missing a piece of info. So that's the first thing I pay attention to. So if I'm like, especially if I'm like looking for a new vendor, I'll grab something where I already know the answer to, and I'll ask them, can you tell me about the treatment of this stone?
Oh, that's smart. That's very smart.
And then they have there's two things are about to happen in that scenario. I'm either about to learn that they're very transparent.
Yeah.
Or they're either hiding the info or not, or just not being, or just not knowing it themselves.
Right.
Like that's a great way, especially like you're shopping in person, especially from a vendor. That's a great way to tell. You'll also kind of, but that's not to say I have purchased stones from vendors who clearly don't like know a ton. Sometimes it's like I've taken over from their family's business and they just have all this inventory and they don't necessarily know a ton about it. If you start to trust your own knowledge, you can start to actually, sometimes it's where you can get some of the best deals. Like I have found like just gorgeous specimens because they just had no idea that was like high grade aquamarine. They had no clue.
Right.
So I want to give a few concrete things here. You can generally assume with like a lapis that if it's like really like dark tone all throughout, and it's probably on the more affordable side, you can usually assume that would be enhanced.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing is trying to know what's been enhanced, what's been dyed, what's been altered in some way that makes it less. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So enhanced would be like our umbrella term for like it's been treated in some way.
Right.
Enhance can kind of mean like some sort of dye. There's multiple ways to dye a bead with various types of resins, and things. Or it can mean the bead has been heated. None of these processes are necessarily bad.
Right.
It's actually a means to turn like some rough material that isn't otherwise usable into something beautiful.
Right.
And often more inexpensive. So I don't ever think like you should just not get something if it's enhanced. I don't think that's like the answer here, but I think it's knowing that just having the knowledge that it is.
Right. Yeah.
So, because it's a way to get like more affordable lapis, because a lot of lapis has a lot of white and gray naturally in it.
Yeah.
See beads and there's like white and gray spots. That's a really clear and often indication that it is more likely has not been treated.
Yeah.
But then if it's like super dark blue all across and it's more inexpensive, it's probably has been enhanced in some form.
Right.
That's one example. You kind of have to like just start learning stone by stone what to look for.
Yeah.
And kind of shop where you feel good shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big one is you want to use vendors that you trust, particularly if you don't know a whole lot about them. But I do, I do know there's no, like, I know you're looking for like some specific details. And I don't really think that there are. I think it's just what you say. You just want to kind of familiarize yourself with, if you can't do it in person, definitely look up and see what the raw material looks like. Mm-hmm. Look at what it looks like when it's been treated or enhanced or what it doesn't look like. And then kind of go from there and then ask lots of questions. And a lot of that's going to be better to do in person, but I know we can't all do that. So that's when we need to come to a vendor like you who knows and is willing to say, here's what I know about this stone. Here's what I know about this strand of beads. Here's where it came from, and you are really transparent, really upfront with everybody about what you've got. And you're not afraid to say, well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've said, I don't know on stones before.
Yeah.
Like I do not feel comfortable saying, if I'm not feeling confident, I will not make that claim. That's never how I've operated because it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would I make that sort of claim?
Yeah.
There were a couple thoughts I was having here. A couple of like these processes. Heated is something I tend to gravitate towards because they're literally using a crazy intense pressure and heat that actually changes the chemical structure of the stone.
Right.
It makes it refract light differently. So it usually makes it change color.
Right.
So because they're like literally changing the chemical makeup of the stone, as far as I've learned, it's like you don't have to worry nearly as much about it changing, which can be the case with certain dyes.
Right. Yeah.
Dyed agate is kind of the trickiest one. I've often found with like a dyed translucent type agate, if it has too much sun exposure, that's the main thing to know about dyes is that it'll eventually start to turn brown.
Yep.
But with heat treated stones, you often don't have that issue, which is kind of nice. So like common heat treated stones would be like a citrine or like a green onyx. Rubies are often heated.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the commercial rubies are heated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew says, I'd rather hear I don't know than BS.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. A reconstituted stone we had a question about is, this is common with turquoise. Well, they'll take like a whole bunch of, like a huge block of turquoise that's been mined. That's like often quite powdery because most turquoise is not, like 90% turquoise is mined is not hard enough just to be instantly cut into beads.
Yeah.
So often it's, the main thing that people do is they'll stabilize it, or it can be like put under pressure, or like sometimes a resin can be injected into it just to make the structure harder.
Right.
If that is not what, another process they can do is reconstitute, where they literally break it down into a powder form and then form it back together with a resin, and that's tends to be like seen as like the most processed turquoise, the turquoise that's been like powderized and then put back together.
Yeah.
and it tends to have a very even look to it. It's kind of, you can usually notice it looks a very different look.
Yeah.
There's a few things. I think you kind of have to keep just I do a lot of my own research if I come across a new stone.
Yeah.
Just keep listening, asking questions, and you'll this is the sorts of things you'll gather over time also. So I hope some of that was helpful.
Wanda says reconstituted gems are like particle board, which in one way is true, but then on the other hand of that is like there are some really awesome reconstituted things that exist, that are just super cool looking. So I mean, there's a place for particle board.
Yeah, right. That's kind of where I start. Like, I don't discount a bead because it's been altered. I just want to know what it is. You'll also see composite beads, which is like you'll see like pieces of, usually of different stones smashed together. So often like bronzite is smashed with like an impression jasper.
Yeah.
And you get those like really cool matrix beads.
I think those are super cool.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
Have fun. Like, let yourself still have fun in all this. I know it's like overwhelming, but let yourself have fun in it still.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got a question here. This is about technique. This is from Peggy. She says, you've both been designers for many years. Do you still enjoy learning new techniques and styles? And what is the latest technique that you learned?
Oh, what a great question.
This is a great question.
Oh my gosh. I have felt jewelry making has only become more fun the more I've gotten to learn.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so thankful that we started doing the classes in the shop sometime in 2020. Because it's given me like a really consistent way to like learn something new every week. That's why I love I watch Sarah's all the time. Like, I'm getting ready in the morning and I like have Sarah's live there, like get to see some fun idea. Like, I also just have so much joy watching Sarah. But like learning something new has always been what has actually brought me the most joy in jewelry making, because I often will take a new technique and then draw upon 5 other techniques I already knew and then get a piece from that. How do you feel?
That's exactly the way I feel. Like, I don't ever want to stop learning techniques or learning different ways to do old techniques. Or it's funny, my comparison to this is really kind of weird. But a friend of mine and I were having a conversation the other day about math. I hate math. I mean, I'm not a numbers person. And it's really weird because when you help a kid with homework with math, like I go running the other direction because the way I learned math has changed. They don't teach it that way. Yeah. And in a situation like math, I don't want to learn the new way. Like I'm stuck in my old ways with things. But when it comes to jewelry making and techniques, it's totally different. Like, I want to know what are the new things that people are doing? There's got to be more efficient ways of doing things. And I want to know what that is. Or what's something new that I've never explored before, but I want to make some time to do that and to figure it out. And like, I have an ongoing list, like wire crochet is on my list. I know how to kumihimo, but I want to do more of that. Like, I want to learn more.
That's one that has been like floating in my head for a while, because folks keep mentioning it to me. So and every time there's like that rule of 3s where you hear something 3 times, you're like, okay, now I have to do it. Because everyone says it's not that hard. It's the same basic technique, and then you can you can mix in beads to it. I'm just like, that sounds amazing. I would love that.
Oh yeah, and to do some kumihimo with some of your gemstone beads would be incredible. So I think it's something that I need to spend some more time on. I have all of the materials. I have all the tools. I have the round one and the square one and all of the little things that you need. It's just it's just finding the time to do it and then taking the next step, which is adding beads to it, which always seems to me to be the one step that is a little bit more intimidating. Like, I can learn a basic skill all day long, but then when you start to incorporate the beads into the technique, it's like, okay, whoa, I'm gonna have to take a step back for a second and reevaluate how good I am at this before I start adding beautiful things to it,
Sure. Absolutely.
Let's see. Look up another one. So everybody wants to know when you and I are going to meet in person, and we will eventually.
I was looking at flights last month. There's nothing like, I don't know. There's not a lot of great flights options right now, but
there will be. There will be. Let's see. What inspires you to the most? Well, I think we've talked about this before, but what, like, when you are, when you're just sitting down and you're just going to make something, what is it that, what does your creativity come from? Do you know, are you looking at nature? Are you looking at things that memories in your head? Do you have a Pinterest board? Like, where do you get your inspiration from?
I think lately a lot of my joy of making has been realizing that I can make things for myself. Yeah. Which is like so weird that switch didn't happen until like one of my good friends said, Sam, I never see you wearing any of the pieces you make. Yeah. You're making pieces all the time. I've never seen you wear any of them.
I'm guilty of that too.
And I was like, are you freaking kidding? Like, oh my gosh. And like, yes, that's like tied into like society standards and all of that. But like, of course I can wear stuff like that. Like, that's so stupid. Of course I can wear things that like, it's actually very normal for men to wear jewelry.
Oh yeah.
And so it's been finding things that like really bring me joy to wear. It's been where I've been gravitating towards. Yeah. Which I literally have this like strand of, I was saying, a peridot and like a tiara cast toggle that's been sitting on my desk because all I want right now is just to be able to like wear that. Yeah. So currently I'm not getting like my inspirations from like the heavens, but like that's okay with me right now. I'm just doing it based on what feels good. Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you. This just kind of popped into my head because I'm kind of trying to figure out the answer myself with this one. So when you do make pieces for yourself, since you're doing that more, do you tend to keep things simple when you make things for yourself, or do you make your big, you know, do you like to make big expressive like statement pieces for yourself, or, you know, do you just look at a simple strand and want that?
I mean, I'm looking at like what I tend to actually grab to wear, and like 90% of the time I grab this like lab pendant that I didn't even make this, but like it's just like my favorite thing in the world of just how beautifully wafted it is. And like with pretty much like anything, it just like shines like exactly.
Yes, so beautiful.
Love it. I think it'll develop over the next year because I'm trying to like update my wardrobe a bit, and like I think once I have some like newer pieces that I really like wearing, because currently everything I own feels like a costume from pre-pandemic. I don't know if anyone else relates to that feeling.
100%. Yeah.
And like then I think I'm gonna want some pieces to go with those. But the piece that I have been gravitating towards after that piece has been one of my hardwired projects, which was this guy.
Oh yeah.
And I think this one just brings me a lot of joy because it was like a new technique I had learned. I had like a lot of fun like taking the class, and it like felt like something. It's kind of like it felt like a little bit of an accomplishment, and I think that was. So I tend to gravitate towards like, I've like people like, oh, I love your necklace. I'm like, thank you, I made the pendant.
Love that.
Like that's fun.
Yeah.
What about you? So the question back at you.
So yeah, it's really weird because I love big, bold, crazy, in your face jewelry. I love like multi-strands and all of this, like all the bells and whistles, the dangles and all that, except for me, which is weird, right? It's weird. I have a tendency with myself to find something like just a beautiful strand. In fact, the other day, Kathy was here. We were unboxing the office here, and I came across a strand of, gosh, now I can't even remember what it is. It's a strand of, like the word is not coming. Black.
Onyx, glass. What category are we talking?
No, it's spinel, right?
Oh, beautiful.
So I bought this beautiful, this amazing, beautiful strand of spinel in Tucson, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
and it's just been sitting on my desk. It got unpacked. And my intentions when I bought this, and my intentions still to this day, if I ever do it, are I just wanted a simple, just a straight strand of spinel.
Mhm.
I didn't want any bells, whistles, dangles, none of the things that I love when I'm creating. I just wanted a simple, just beautiful strand of just sparkly spinel. That's all I wanted, you know? And I have a tendency to do that. If I find just a gemstone, and it's usually gemstones, sometimes it's crystals, but for the most part, it's gemstones. If I find something that speaks to me, I just want it plain. I don't want anything else with it. A lot of times when I get your bead boxes, that's the way I feel. You'll send like something, it'll be like a beautiful strand of apatite or a beautiful strand of, you know, something. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything to that. I just want to restring it, put a clasp on it, and call it a day, because it is simply stunning the way that it is. And it's different because creatively I'm all over the place. Yeah. But for myself, I just want simple beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's also the case with certain. There's certain beans that like you just gotta get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like let them shine.
Yep.
Like you spent all that money on a beautiful strand, like let yourself enjoy it. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
You should do it. You should do it. Maybe we have to call you up, and I have to turn that peridot into bracelet. You have to turn that into a necklace, and we gotta get that.
We'll do it together. Let's see here.
People also have like business questions that also could be. I also feel like that we didn't do as many business type things last time.
Yeah. So there was a good one in here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see.
While Sarah's looking for that, Cindy just asked, can we still order the April bead box? Actually, yes. What's today? The 5th? Yep. So the cutoff each month. Sorry, let me back up. Sam's Bead Shop has a monthly bead box that Sarah mentioned called Sam's Bead Box. And we actually are about to ship the April box, I think at the end of this week. So if you order by the 9th, that's the last day, you can still get the April box. And I'm sure Sarah gets it each month, and often we try to do a live with the box. So you can participate more in that if you have the box. That's samsbeadbox.com. All right, I'm done.
No, you're fine. Keep going. Okay, so there really was only one kind of business related.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I was just curious because I like random.
No, and I love the business questions. So if you guys have them, post them here in the comments, because on the post there was really only one, and it's more of, I mean, it's business in one sense, but on the other hand, it's kind of not. Okay. Kind of just depends on how you look at it. It says, how do you know when the quality of work in your jewelry designs is good enough to sell? And I'm gonna let you give me your opinion on this, but before I do that, I'm gonna say what I say.
Yeah, I think you should start this one.
Yeah, every time I have this question come up, this kind of plays into pricing as well. And in my hardwired group, we have these kind of conversations a lot. We had some really good ones. If you're a hardwired member, if you're a brand new hardwired member, know that we do have these kinds of conversations. One of the things that we have talked about is, number one, not comparing yourself to others. Number two, kind of knowing what your own self-worth is. And really that number two is the biggest one, because I feel like, you know, you can put together an amazing piece of jewelry all day long and toss it in a box because you think it's not good enough, and that's your own hang up. Whereas you're kind of keeping the rest of the world away from your beautiful creations. Like, you have to look at it like, I use this analogy all the time. Not everybody can do what we do. Not everybody can make jewelry. I certainly am not a plumber. So if I need a plumber, I hire a plumber, right? If I am another human being in the world that doesn't make jewelry and I want a beautiful handmade piece of jewelry, I'm going to go to that person. I'm going to pay that person for their work. I know everybody's quality levels are a little different, but don't undersell yourself. Don't undersell your skills. Don't undersell your talents. Don't undersell yourself. If you think what you've got is good enough to sell, it is. I mean, that's, if you're even asking that question, you're ready, you know?
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're following the, you know, you're making sure that your crimps are sturdy and you're making sure that your loops are secure, things like that, those little things that only jewelry designers and creators know about. As long as you've covered all of those bases, the rest of it is going to kind of take care of itself. If you're making beautiful pieces, people are going to want them, but you have to put them out there. If you don't put them out there, how are you ever going to know, you know?
That was beautifully said.
I don't know that it answered anything, but I mean, you know.
I was getting kind of emotional. I was like, that was beautiful. Yeah, I had thoughts during that, but now I forgot all of them because that was gorgeous.
Oh, gosh.
I agree. Yeah. If I think of anything helpful to add to that, I will, but I think that's a beautiful way to answer that.
Yeah. I think if you're asking the question, it's really kind of a sign that it's time. Put it out there and see what happens. The worst thing that could happen is nobody buys it. And you know what? If that's the case, you're one step further ahead than you were before you did that. And now you're ready to take another step, you know, and sometimes that first step is the hardest one. And it's because we all fear rejection to some degree. All of us. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you preach that you don't care what other people think. That's really not true. At our core, everybody has that fear of rejection. And that can be a huge hurdle for a jewelry maker, a painter, an artist of any medium to put something out there. But I think that what you'll find is that if you look at it and you think it's beautiful, somebody else will too. You know?
There was some TikTok in my feed like yesterday that was like, vulnerability is the courage to kind of put something out there that someone else will now have control over, that someone else can now react to.
Yeah.
You said it more beautifully, but like essentially like is the choice and the courage that you are making to put something out there that someone else can then react to. That is kind of what being vulnerable is. So
oh yeah.
I think that's why it can feel hard to put your pieces out there, because you don't know, are people gonna like them?
Yeah.
Are my pieces gonna hold up? And these are questions that sometimes you kind of just have to go
yeah,
and figure it out, because you can't answer that first question. You don't know if someone's going to like your piece or not, like
exactly.
And there probably is a market for what you're making, or at least you'll get feedback and continue to figure out often if it's a thing that you really enjoy making, you should just keep making that, because you will find, because that's probably what makes your pieces the most unique.
Yeah.
And like what actually will make you stand out. Yeah. Like I've never really believed in just kind of following the jewelry trend of the time, because if the trend's happening, then it's already happened. It's already happened.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Folks are always wanting to experience a new idea. Like it's why like Broadway exists for as long as it has, because people want a new story to hear. And so like maybe you have that idea already.
Yeah.
So give yourself some credit.
Yeah. Wow.
It's so interesting that we're not talking about jewelry at all, are we?
Oh, yeah. But well, and I have 2 points to make here that are kind of, I don't know that they're even related, but just kind of back to the question. The first point is definitely not necessarily a jewelry related question or answer, but can be applied to it. This is something else. Like I have all of these weird little euphemisms. I need like a board of all the weird things I say. But I have said a million times, you may be the juiciest peach on the tree and somebody out there still doesn't like peaches. Like, that's the way I live my entire life. Like, I am who I am, and either you like it or you don't. And if you don't, you're not my people, you know? It's the same way with your jewelry. Like, if you're creating pieces, you can make something that you think is the most beautiful piece in the whole entire world. Somebody out there's not going to like it. That's just the way it is, you know? And that's okay. And learning to be okay with that is going to just build your confidence going forward with all of your other pieces. The other thing I wanted to say that is more of like a technical, not necessarily technical, but more of like a business type, just kind of injection for those of you out there who deal with, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It was here. Hold on. Insecurities. That's the word I was looking for. So here's what I want everybody out there to know who sells their jewelry or is thinking about selling their jewelry. I've been a jewelry maker for longer than I want to admit, because that tells you how old I am. But I've been making jewelry for a really long time, and I've been selling jewelry for a really long time. No matter how much time goes by, every single time I pack a finished piece into a box and ship it off, I worry. I worry that it's not put together enough. I worry the clasp is going to break. I worry the jump ring is going to come open. I worry that it's going to be tarnished if it gets there, you know, if it's in the mail for too long. All of those worries, all of those insecurities, guys, we all feel those. It doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been making jewelry. I don't care what you say. We all feel that way. When you hand that piece to another person, you immediately, it's like, I hope I did enough. I hope I did a good enough job. I wish I could tell you all that you'll grow past that, but the truth is that you don't. You don't ever grow past that. You're going to worry. You're going to have concerns. And dealing with that, if a customer comes back to you and says, well, my piece broke, or, you know, this silver tarnished, or like, those are all little learning opportunities. That's your biggest feedback. You know, don't let those things beat you down and keep you from going forward. Take those as the stepping stones to keep going. You know, fix the piece for them and say, you know what, I'm sorry, it happens. You know, I mean, because it does. You can go and buy a piece from Tiffany's and it could break tomorrow. You don't know. I mean, that's just the way the world is, you know?
Yeah. It made me think of, I did the like bridesmaid jewelry for like a really good friend of mine, like a mentor type person. And I remember that feeling, sending off those pieces. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was like, this is your friggin' wedding. Like, and like, I wasn't like, I didn't feel that amazing about my brio wraps at the time.
Yeah.
And like, that's what she wanted. She did, we found like beautiful strand of like large amethyst brios, and all she wanted was just a silver wrapping and a chain.
Yeah.
And it was like such a beautiful concept with the dresses. So I remember that feeling. And then I remember like a couple months later after the wedding, she had to give me back one of the necklaces because the wrapping had like come undone.
Yeah.
I mean, it also was a child, the one that was given to a child. So like, also I was like, that child did not know how to take care of or like store the piece, but
right.
But it also is to say like, it happens. And then I just, she was kind, and I remade the piece, and got it back to the owner. Like, and it was fine. Like, it, like, the other piece I've just been feeling, we're talking a lot about like one side, which like, should I start selling my pieces? I also just want to like validate the side that is, you don't have to sell anything.
That's so true.
Because I think there's a lot of like, this is just kind of our gravitation in our society. Like, anytime we start to get good at something, like, how can we sell this? How can we monetize this?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
That's exactly right.
Like, you can let it stay a hobby, and that might actually be what brings you more joy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And like, I think you can feel good about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the pressure of starting to sell it. You can choose to sell a piece if someone asks you if you want to, or you could draw the boundary, say, I don't sell my pieces. You could just gift it to them. Like, those are all your choices.
Absolutely. I think a really good example of this is our friend Kathy. Kathy doesn't sell her jewelry. She makes the most beautiful beaded things you've ever seen in your entire life. She doesn't sell any of it. You know, she doesn't sell any of it. She literally will throw it in a box. And it's like, that's not why she does it. She does it because it fills her up. You know, it makes her happy to make those pieces. And when she has really special pieces, she'll give them away, or she'll make a special piece for somebody else, you know. And if you get a piece from Kathy, like, you know, like that means something, you know. And she's not selling her work, even though she could. She could be making a ton of money. That's not why she does it. So you're exactly right. You don't have to do that. If it's just your hobby, just enjoy it. You know, just let it be that wonderful thing that makes you feel good inside. She says, I place it in a box, not throw. Okay, fair.
I love my Kathy creations.
Me too. So we're getting close to the end here, but I just want to know if we have any fun questions, just like some silly questions.
Yay.
You got any silly questions, Sam? You got anything?
Let me check. My sister texted me an idea. Let me see. Okay. Not a fun question. Let's see.
Oh, you can still ask it.
No. My sister was asking a question about the April box. It might be sold. She said it might be sold out on the website right now, but I right after this, I'll go and add more. We have some extra slots available. She wanted to make sure folks knew. Any fun questions? I mean, my go-to fun question is always like, what's your favorite Pixar movie? But we all know that Sarah's a Disney fan. Let's just let folks ask. Sharon asked, how did we meet? Should we make up a story? If we hadn't met through the bead world, how would we have met, Sarah?
How would we have met, Sam? Oh my gosh. I'm sure that you probably would have been sitting somewhere in Tucson with that gorgeous Labradorite pendant on, and I probably would have stopped you and said, what did you make that? That's gorgeous. And then we would have started a conversation, and that probably would have been that. I would have been
like, who are you? Who is this wild person with his hair? Oh my God. Do you see Deborah? I won't ask that question in case you do want to answer it.
No, it's fine. She says, did you have a second meal with the refrigerator man? So not yet, but that is in the future. And we can stop calling him refrigerator man if you guys want to. I'm just saying, he has a nickname, so he can go by his nickname. His nickname is Q, like the letter Q.
Okay.
So if y'all want to call him by his nickname, you can't find him. He's not on Facebook. So good luck with that, you guys. That's the only reason I'm telling you that. Good luck with that. He isn't on Facebook, so nice try.
Cute. So cute. What product do I use in my hair? Some coconut oil curl cream thing. I don't even know. I got it on Amazon.
Yes, Amazon.
The brand was Mark Anthony.
Mary says, do you ever just sit and look at beautiful beads? Yes. Every day?
Yeah. I have like a section of like my favorite beads. I have like this strand of like beautiful garnet brios and some like Botswana and like a strand of amethyst. They're like my 3 favorite things ever that I just don't touch currently.
Yeah. Wanda says, oh no, I want to call him Sarah's refrigerator man.
Nicole
I'm okay with that too. What's Sam's favorite song to sing?
I have been like going deeper and deeper into musicals lately. I have a lot of fun. I've been listening to like Carousel and like some like classics lately.
Yeah.
They're so fun. They make me so happy. I don't know if you have like those like albums in your life where you just like feel so good listening to them. Yeah. Oh, I watched the new West Side Story.
Did you like it?
It is so so good.
I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list.
It's wildly different than the first one.
Yeah.
And like so interestingly done. I was very impressed. And also it was fun because I knew one of the Jets, one of the dancers in one of the Jets. He was at Juilliard when we were in the same like dorm suite area freshman year. So that was like, I remember helping him with his audition for the movie. He was like, "Can you help me with my lines?" I was like, "Sure." And then he friggin' got it. He's an amazing dancer. So that was really fun.
That's awesome. So I have a music, just little interesting thing that I've learned about myself as I've moved. So I love all kinds of music. Like my music tastes are all over the map, like big time. Like I'm a listener. Like I listen for lyrics and for feelings. Whereas some people just listen for noise. I'm like a real aficionado, if you will. I'm a connoisseur, if you will, of music. And this move has, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but I was sitting at my makeup table, which is when I listen to a lot of music while I'm like getting ready. And I realized I was listening to some music that I hadn't listened to in years. And I was like, I'm taking my music back.
Yeah.
Like music that used to be a part of my marriage. You know what I mean? Like music that I related to a relationship that I had for so long. And so for the longest time, I couldn't listen to it because it made me feel kind of icky. And now I'm like, I'm so done with that. I'm taking my music back. That music means something different to me, you know? And now in this phase of my life, that music is kind of a representation of how far I've come, not what was, but like, wow, what's possible next? And I don't know. I know it's completely non-jewelry related or anything, but I mean, I think a lot of people out there watch me just to know like where I am in life and my updates and things. And so that's kind of where I am. Like I'm in this space where I'm taking my music back and I'm feeling really empowered by that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that's really fantastic.
Let's see. So many musicals. Everybody loves musicals.
Of course.
Somebody mentioned my refrigerator. My refrigerator's name is Bertram. Dude, my refrigerator plays music.
What?
Yes. Okay, so
what?
The fanciest thing I own right now is my refrigerator. Okay. It was here when we moved in, and it has a screen on it, and we've named it. His name is Bertram. He's like our butler, and he's connected to the internet, and he can show, like, you can connect to your phone and see what's on the inside of your refrigerator, and like, yeah, I know it's crazy. You can get the weather and all kinds of stuff. It plays music, but the funniest part of Bertram is that he will send you notifications when you put new things in the refrigerator. Now, the reason this is funny is because he gets them wrong every single time. I don't get the notifications, but my son does. So twice now, I'll be like sitting in my room doing whatever, and my son will come in and he'll be like, "Mom, Bertram just said you put baby food, canned tuna, and just the most random things in the refrigerator." And I'm like, none of these things happen.
Wrong. Those are wrong.
Like there's leftovers and some cans of soda and a couple bottles of water. No baby food. No. Yeah. He never gets it right. It's so funny. The most random things that he will say that we put in the refrigerator. It's like, to be so fancy, you are so wrong.
Does Bertram also cook dinner? Because that's what I want. Darn it. Now everyone's just listing all sorts of musicals I want to go listen to now.
I know, right? Gosh.
Someone who just mentioned South Pacific. I'm gonna watch that man right out of my head. I'm gonna watch. You know that song?
Love it. Love it. Let's see. Bertram is quite lovely. He is lovely. He is just very misinformed.
Maybe he'll learn.
I hope so. He's really bad at it right now. Yeah, he just has a sense of humor. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, it is past the hour, so we are going to go. But this has been fun. This was a great way for me to come back because it's been a minute since I've been here. It's so good to see everybody. And Sam, I cannot thank you enough. Every time you come hang out with us, it's such a pleasure. So,
I feel the same way. I would do this all day long if I could.
So tell me, Sam, what's coming up for you this week?
Yeah, we've got a great week in the shop. We do live sales every Tuesday, Thursday. So today at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got a sale coming up. Rachel and I are going to go pick the theme for. We started it yesterday. What did we pick? Actually, I still have to pick the stone, but we picked out some of the new check glass. We have some like owls back in stock and some new faceted shapes I'm really excited about. So come, if you want to come hang some more bead hang time, come join us tonight. Maybe find something that inspires you. Yeah, and then don't forget to subscribe to Sam's Bead Box while you still have the opportunity, I'd say.
Yes. Don't miss out on that.
What's your week like, Sarah?
So my week is, I'm really just trying to get back into the swing of things. So I have a live with the Hardwired group at 4:30 p.m. And then I will be working on kits. This is the first kits that are going to happen in my new workspace. I'm really looking forward to it. So those will be ready for the Feel Good Friday show. And I'm going to the Elton John concert on Friday night. And Kathy has mentioned that I should make some Elton John themed kits and just make them sparkly and fabulous. That's kind of what I'm thinking I might do.
That's a great idea.
I know, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. So, but yeah, so our Feel Good Friday show will be at 1 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And that's just it for me. Just trying to get back in the groove. I don't have a Michael's class this week, but yeah, just getting back to the normal, I guess.
That's great.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been too long. I'm so glad to be back.
I think we missed you a little bit, Sarah.
Yeah, I missed you guys a lot. So I'm happy to be back and doing my thing. So can't really think of...
I would say if folks want to see an hour of like creation, they should check out the Friday live we did, which was on the Sam's Bead Shop page.
Yes.
Channel. We went for over an hour doing a design on the fly with Sarah, Danielle, and Rachel Malice. So if you want a little bit more like bead inspiration today,
yeah, absolutely,
head to the Sam's Bead Shop YouTube channel for that video.
Yeah. You don't want to miss that one. If you didn't see it on Friday, go check it out. It was a good one. And such beautiful designs. So
that's where we got our first stories about Refrigerator Man. So don't miss out. Sarah, I was like, Sarah, what's up in your life? And she's like, well, I just went on a lovely date.
I had to share. I can't help it.
It was just not the first thing I was expecting to come out of your mouth. And I was like, I love Sarah so much.
I was so excited, though. I had to spill.
Oh, makes me so happy.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody, you have a wonderful rest of the week, guys. I'll see your Hardwired group at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. And for everybody else, I'll see you guys on Friday. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you, Sam. Bye, guys.
Bye.